Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Reaction Time, season whatever, episode whatever. We're here to produce content for you, not keep track of numbers and shit. Anyway, we're here. You're probably watching this on the Funky Games YouTube channel. Steven, what else could you find if you click on other videos? But not yet. Watch the whole episode first. Don't click yet.
Right, unless you go to buy Funky merch, you can do that right now. Go to the Funky store and go buy yourself a shirt, and then it'll ship to you. Then you can put it on, and then when you can watch new episodes in the comfort of a nice, nostalgic Funky shirt, Funky.store. You should go there, but you should also like subscribe and check out like the Poser series and the Game Brew podcast. Where there's a lot of content all of a sudden. It's almost like I'm getting the process down with all the boys. So check it out.
There you have it. We're here to talk about League of Legends, as we so often are. Eric, are you excited to talk about League of Legends?
I'm really excited to talk about League of Legends this week.
Eric, you also like to talk about church. Are you here to talk about church?
I am here to talk about the church of fasting laners. So for so long we believe you need 3 people to sit in lanes and accrue money, and then that one extra person whose job is to sit there and potentially put wards out on the map and have like a high vision score number and nothing else. But no, the real true faith involves having another person whose job is to sit there and occasionally press their R key and then allow your other players to like have even more success. That's true League of Legends.
So we will, as you may have guessed if you've paid attention, start by discussing C9, who have opened the season 2-0. And if we flash back to last week's episode, in which I completely shit on Fudge and his mechanics, it turns out if you don't have mechanics, then play Soraka and Ivern mid and let your sick bot laner carry. So C9 goes 2-0 in the week. Fudge's champions for the week are Ivern and Soraka in the mid. Nothing else hits that strangely in these C9 comps. They got 2 games of Aphelios out of Berserker, who is obviously someone we should talk about since he was the focal point of these 2 wins, being held up by the supportive play from the mid lane. That said, since I obviously had a particular interest in the C9 EG game, that was the second one of these, and a reference to last week, why won't you fucking ban Aphelios? I don't care what else is good in the meta. Let the Corki through. Let the Caitlyn through. I don't give a shit. Ban the Aphelios. Particularly if this is what they're going to do. If this is what the game plan is, ban Aphelios, ban Jinx. Let's see what happens next.
Kog'Maw.
I'm going to talk about Kog'Maw later. We'll get there. Don't worry.
Sorry, I'm just so anxious.
I spent some time this week for extra prep watching some LCO, and the LCO apparently likes some Kog'Maw. We're going to talk about
when you got like 3 supportive characters on your team.
Well, but that's the thing, though. So that we're going to push back on that. It's 2. Like, they're not playing all-in support everything. Summit has a game on Gnar and a game on Camille. Like, those are real top lane champions. We will talk next about FlyQuest, who are on the other side of this strategy. But, Eric, what have you thought of how this has worked in games for C9?
Well, going back to, the abuse Fudge strategy, like we mentioned, it's really hard to abuse him when it's okay if he's 50 to 60 CS down in lane, which he was both games. Because all he needs to do is follow Blabber to Scuttle Crab, which is also really easy on Soraka, because when Blabber gets low on Olaf, you just run at him really fast and press your W key too. So you have 2 buttons to contribute to your Giga Chad jungler, as opposed to 1 button. It's absurd. And then it did work really well, especially with Berserker hard carrying on Aphelios. Summit looks a little bit lost in this team from time to time because it's so much nonsense. Like, you know that LS is shaping this pick ban, and there's a clear, concise strategy for how it's eventually supposed to play out in game. But when you're a top laner and this stuff is happening below you on the Rift, what do you do? You know, like, I guess you're in your island. You just keep being in your island. You just hope that things work out. But it can be very confusing being on the top side in these games.
Yeah, some of it looks very, very out of place in some of these, especially I think the Camille more so than the Gnar, but like you feel for him a little bit, but like your purpose is to trap someone with R or like push a lane and then like not die, but no one's gonna charge at the the Olaf and Aphelios or any of that. Like it's like, oh no.
Well, and like you saw why it did what it did. That first fight in I think it was the second game where Aphelios is almost dead for about 10 seconds and just keeps getting shielded and just keeps being alive and doing all the damage that swung that entire game around fighting Bottom River by Dragon.
There's this very large Renekton across from him who's doing everything in his power.
And it's
everything
Renekton who
in his
is
power.
meant to fix this.
Yeah.
Like, Renekton literally has a button that says "fuck your shields," and it didn't matter.
Well, because that's when you had the Soraka, right? Because that was the second game was the Soraka.
That was the Ivern game.
The Renekton was the Ivern game. Okay. When like because that was was that CLG? Who were they playing?
It was C9E. It was the EG game.
It was the EG game. Okay,
because it was Impact on Rennek. Yeah.
Because the Renekton tried so hard, like, you know, press this button, cut the shield. Oh wait, there's a new shield. Now I'm in trouble.
We're fucking it up. Impact was on Tryndamere. That game.
Yeah, that was.
Oh yeah, because I was like, hold on, I watched this game. I wasn't that blasted.
So it was the game against then Golden Guardians.
Yes.
Right.
So you have Licorice on the Croc, trying to do the best he can do, and you have Fudge on the Ivern. There we go. Okay.
Yeah. And there's like the Ivern shield, and then there's the other shield, and then there's just the Aphelios nonsense, and then there's just too much shield, and then on the flip side of that fight, Blabber, who was on, I believe, Jungle Gwen, was like 1v3, because they had no one who could hurt Gwen from inside the magic bubble. So yeah, that was dumb. It was very dumb.
It appears to work. Now, the adjustments to be made, right? Because this is 2 games, and they beat a team who most people expect to be at the bottom of the league, and a team who most people expect to be at the top of the league, with very similar strategies. Most notably, they picked Aphelios 2 games in a row. They picked Aphelios, and they picked high damage junglers for Blabber both games with the Olaf and the Gwen. So, like, as I opened this with, it seems like a team should ban Aphelios against them next week, and probably also Jinx, to see, like, if we force them off of the biggest hyper carries in the meta, what does it still work, basically? Like, do you, like, for example, if this is the plan, okay, ban Aphelios, ban Jinx, leave open TF and Corki. Yep. If you're only going to pick Enchanter's mid, let's leave open the mid laners that everybody's banning.
Yeah, because you push Fudge on to those characters, like then you're making them change their whole composition.
Like, we know Fudge looked actively bad on TF. Leave TF open.
Yep.
Or like force C9 to use their bans on.
Yeah, you're almost playing into the trap at that point.
Like,
if you're banning.
If I'm whoever they play first next week.
The FlyQuest?
Immortals. So, is that Academy schedule? Go away.
Be gone.
Saturday. It's C9. Oh, TL.
Oh yeah, we'll ban Aphelios. We don't like Aphelios.
Ban Aphelios, Jinx, Gwen. There are your 3 bans.
Yep.
Like, and then let's see, because it'll leave a lot of stuff open that wouldn't normally be open. But like, Gwen is at the point, in my opinion, where she should be a first ban. Or like, do you have to ban Zeri instead of banning Jinx?
I don't know. I don't think her
like
hyper carry is as much of a threat as something like a Jinx would be, and it's a lot harder to get off the ground.
So then, like, that's one of the things that would probably most notably left open is you would probably leave open then Caitlyn or Zeri, whatever.
Yep.
C9 doesn't ban, and then you leave open Corki and TF,
which Bjergsen can answer
at least one of their games this weekend.
You just have to pick a lane to punish.
Corki was banned against them both games. Oh, and then you might be giving up one of the other priority junglers. So Blabber might still get Xin Zhao, Lee Sin, something like that. But like, you can't give up the Gwen flex, and you can't give up the 2 big hyper carries. So I think those have to be the 3 bans. And then like we'll see what the second stage of the C9 strategy is.
Yeah, because I think the only reason you're putting Fudge besides his enablement of his cohorts is that you won him on the priority stuff. So when LS is like, okay, he doesn't look good on it, they're gonna ban the prio stuff anyway. We're just gonna put on crazy stuff to enable. So like if you're leaving those things open, you have like a huge advantage for yourself because then they're open for you.
I think you're misunderstanding or misinterpreting how the scripture works here.
Oh, okay.
The scripture is that Ivern and Soraka mid are the OP picks, and that the other priority picks in this meta are actually trash. That's the actual LS take that he's bringing to the table here.
I didn't have enough sauce to really understand. I'm not goated here.
Like this Corki mid stuff, that loses to Soraka. That's the LS take. Like, why are you picking a poke champ against my like mid lane Sona? Like, how are you going to win a game of League of Legends that way? That's the take.
Okay.
So just be aware that since he already started with this stuff, which like I was not expecting. I was fully expecting this team to come into week 1 and be playing like meta things for the most part, but just with some special sauce and pick ban. Instead, no, he's going full commit. This is an LS pick ban every game, and I expect them to keep doing that. So unless you figure out how to,
well, and that's now that is out there, because I suspect there were people in the league that might have thought the same thing. But now that it's out there, like, this is what we're doing. Okay, teams get to respond now.
Yeah.
So speaking of things that teams need to respond to, let's talk about FlyQuest, because I don't think we expected FlyQuest to be 2-0 in their first 2 games of the season. And I don't think they played Golden Guardians and CLG. Again, people kind of expect them to be
wins you should pick up.
So it's not the most exciting thing in the world. However, it is notable because Kumo's 2 games are on Janna and Karma. So this is the official top Smite solo lane strategy. Hard at work. Kumo, just the hilarious numbers here. 14.4 gold share, 1% higher than Afro's gold share. Damage percent on the team, 4.8%. No. That is less than Afromoo's 6% on Leona and Braum across 2 games. And 10.7 KDA.
Jeez. Okay, explain the Janna top. I need the rundown.
So the core conceit behind the Smite support top is that in the off season, League decided that player bounties were too targeted as far as like a comeback mechanic. So they shifted it to more team-based objectives with objective bounties, where if your team is in the lead, taking an objective anywhere on the map can give a huge gold influx. So this is designed to abuse the fact that single snowballed players on a team drastically sculpts the algorithm for who's winning in a game state in League of Legends. So in these games, when Kumo, as the top laner, is down 60 CS because he just hasn't gone to lane, the algorithm decides, oh shit, FlyQuest is losing bad. We need to let them have objective bounties. However, at that time, Kumo was actually helping them 5-man bot dive to kill 2 people and take the turret, which they do, and then get even more gold on their super fed ADC, Johnson, who has ridiculous stats by comparison because he's been having like not one but 2 pocket supports for the entirety of his games so far. So like the whole point is make one person on the enemy team richer in order to make the other people on your team even more rich. It's kind of like the lane swap meta, where it only instead of like
power farming, you're like
yeah, only instead of like power farming, you're like power dodging. There's a little bit more gameplay with the top smite support meta in that you can choose if you just hyper commit into your carry top laner, like lock that Tryndamere, just go to town, take like 5 plates on your Tryndamere, be up 4 items, and then just like win the game that way on a side lane. Or if you want to like actually play a global top laner too and try and echo or match, or even lane swap in response, there are plenty of options for counterplay here. However, it's not going to last long because this is such a factor of algorithm abuse rather than like actual gameplay that they could just tweak the algorithm and then this isn't a factor anymore. So
And
it's
there
highly
is
expected they will.
adjustments coming to the systems involved in 12.4 that I think came out today, like what they're trying to do. I don't think the exact numbers are out there for it yet, but it's like Riot knows about this. So this has been, for additional context, this has been a thing that has been a huge thing in solo queue for about a month now. It was most popularized in North America by former LCS player Lorlo, who has worked on it with Bard, Janna, and Karma primarily, where it's you do all the things you said, leave lane at level 3, let the enemy top laner do it. Top Smite Janna, I think, had reached in Platinum Plus games in NA solo queue with a really significant sample size, like a 60% win rate. Like, in games where people know how to play around it, it just absolutely destroys how the game is supposed to work. And, like, you can try to... The most obvious counter by common knowledge is you pick something like the Tryndamere, for example, which is what Impact picked into the C9 comp for EG, where it's something that, like, okay, if you're going to give me perfect CS, infinite farm, 5 plates, can I 1v9 the game on a champion? So, like, something that can, like, split push safely for days. So, like, a Fiora or a Camille. So, Fiora, Camille, Tryndamere, like, those are the things that it feels like it makes sense to pick into this, because, like, if I can walk into a fight at like 22 minutes as a 4-item Fiora with all the gold in the world, can I 1v5? It hasn't worked.
Yeah, because you still have some kind of like hyper carry, 80 carry, like blasting you with 2 pocket supports. I see the...
That's the problem.
The yucky. Right? It's pretty gross.
And it's like the dive, not this past week, but the week before it, had a really thorough and interesting discussion about how it's been used and how it's being played. A couple of them, like, I know Azael is pretty high up in solo queue and is a top laner, so he's messed around in games with it a little bit and seen how it felt. And it's just like, this is part of the game right now. And it's like, if teams know how to play around it, which in solo queue is iffy, but in pro, like, if you're building around this strategy, other teams have to be able to stop it, and thus far, 2-0. So it's like, it doesn't seem like it's going to last, because it does seem like the kind of thing that Riot is going to say, it is literally better for top laners to not play the game and to not play their lane and results in more wins than it is for them to play top lane as we intended top lane to be played. Seems like there's a problem here that we need to address. And it does seem like they're at least taking steps to nerf this strategy, but there are deeper issues here, it would seem.
Yeah, top lane island feels.
Well, and this, like, part of this, I think, came from chain teleport, right? You can't TP bot at 8 minutes to make these plays anymore.
So I'm going to walk down there. I'm going to be down there.
So it's interesting, and I'm glad a team actually played it so that we could see what it looked like at the highest level. Because that's been the whole thing. Is like, it's been this big solo queue thing for a while now, but we hadn't seen it really done at the highest level. So FlyQuest gives us the beginning of a sample size for what this exact thing is. And the LS stuff is a version of this to some extent.
Yeah.
Where you're picking essentially a support in a solo lane and giving up stuff to make one person on your team really big. He did it mid lane instead of top lane, but the theories are kind of the same, right?
And they might be affected by the nerfs to the bounty system. Yes?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Not as
Cloud9
extreme.
won't be.
Right.
Yeah, Cloud9 won't be, but because they're not actually giving up too much map pressure, it's more about like safely farming in the lane rather than leaving it entirely.
Because this is like you were leaving with 6 farm, and you're never farming again for the rest of the game. Where
They
like
buy
Fudge
support
did
items.
actually farm.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, the balls on FlyQuest actually run it though. Is like the first, because like I'm guessing they're not doing it in the other regions either.
It hasn't been broken out
I have
yet.
seen yet.
So
Yeah,
we'll
see if
actual cojones on FlyQuest.
We'll see if it shows up in LPL, starting up again here. But like, it has not. Let's be pretty clear. LCK is not where this would show up, as far as where like leagues go and general player tendencies. It didn't show up in EU either because Zeri is new, and teams are prioritizing getting games in with the OP 80 carry rather than nonsense top lane. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out.
I would just like to note that T1 banned Janna in Phase 2 of Game 1 of their set tonight. With a top lane pick to go. So I wouldn't 100% say it's not possible.
We're on the timeline where FlyQuest is influencing ever so slightly the Korean scene. This is an interesting timeline, I will say.
Yeah, like I don't think it's been done, but it's just one of those like I'm gonna look just a little bit at what's going on around here. And like when I'm starting to see a Lulu ban in Phase 2 as a top lane ban, and a Janna ban in Phase 2 as a top lane ban in the LCK. No, like it'd be like if it's a traditional Korean thing, like top solo lane Lulu has been a thing that's been in and out of Korean play for a long time. So I bet a lot of like Faker's Lulu is nuts. I bet a lot
since
of people have this in
release.
their pocket.
That's usually because Lulu's actually a dominant lane champion. Is like the thing though, as opposed to like
it's the reverse of this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you pick the support to win the lane, and then give it big shield, rather than picking the support to exit the lane. So like the Lulu, I wouldn't be surprised for. That's been huge for ages. Like Karma even could sit in the lane if necessary. The Karma leaving the lane at a pro level baffles me somewhat because you don't need to do that even on Karma. You can just win.
And so, just for reference, the system adjustments are specifically targeted at the solo lane with support items, which is a part of this. Is you have your if you have your support item that is the core of your starting build, even with the thing. So the adjustments that are being made in 12.4 as it stands are the minion farming penalty that currently is you get a penalty if you last hit more than 4 minions per minute is getting tweaked up to you get the penalty if you farm more than 2 in a minute before 5 minutes in the game, and then it goes back to 4, which makes that farming penalty more severe early. The CS bounties now adjust based on the number of income items on each team. So if you have multiple support items on each team, the bounties will adjust accordingly. Don't know the numbers on it, but that's the thing. And objective bounty gold leads are halved when you have 2 or more support items on a team. And the objective bounty linger is reduced from 15 seconds to 5 seconds.
That's pretty brutal.
I'm really curious if the actual adjustment from this isn't because they didn't fix the algorithm. So like, I'm gonna complain about this a bit. They didn't fix the algorithm. Instead, they decided to like target nerf how support items work to try and prevent people from buying the support item. I would not be surprised if the adjustment is they just don't buy the support item until 5 minutes. They sit in lane slightly longer before they leave, and then buy the support item when they go bot lane. I think this is. I don't know how this will work.
What I suspect is like I think that Riot is trying to placeholder this until they can get something more systemic to try and kneecap it a little bit without really fixing it. Because that's what this looks like, is they're not fixing any of the underlying problems. They're just trying to hit this exact strategy.
I think that's, I guess, a larger question, because like, do we really want Riot coming in and just completely cleaving these like alternate play styles out of the game, or just bringing it more aligned to where it's not always successful, like it has niche opportunities or like play style advantages with different people? Because like
They've done it before.
I was gonna bring up Funnel. Like, I did like Funnel. I think it had a place with specific champions or specific styles. But they just completely remove things like this pretty much every time. So I would like to see maybe more of a just like a balancing it, knowing that it's there, and like leaving it on the table for some teams to take advantage of it, or individuals to take advantage of it, but just not every time. Like 60% win rate is obviously too high in the solo queue like setup, so it does need adjustment. But I'm not like super big fan of just completely cleaving things like this personally.
And it was like, it's the funnel and lane swap are the two things that, particularly in pro play, have been Riot's gonna kneecap this immediately. Because like, was it Worlds 2015 or 16 that was the lane swap script for the first 10 minutes of the
I think it was 15, and it was just
15
like
feels
every like 3 out of
It's
4
what you
games
did.
were
You
like,
follow the path. You do each of these things. Both teams handshake on it, because if one team doesn't do it, they're behind and screwed for the rest of the game.
Yep. Yeah, you placing the deep boards in lane to see where the like maybe where people were
Which,
pathing
like,
and all that.
I really
garbage.
enjoyed the development of that strategy and seeing how teams manipulated it and tried things like using Scion to steal a jungle camp, which was a part of how some teams messed with some people's lane swap situations. Stuff like that. Like, there was innovation involved with how it went. The problem was when it just was what you did. It made games not worth watching for the first 10 minutes at the highest level, because it's just what you did, no matter what, all the time. So I hope that this isn't going to that stage, because that's when it's really going to get hammered. But I am, as Eric said, I'm curious to see if any LPL teams come into it. The LPL, I think, is back tonight, if I read the schedule right. The LCK is continuing to be around, and like I said, just looking through the bans from last night's Korean games, like, I don't know if anybody's going to do it, but people know about it. And it's one of those things that, like, if you are particularly a more middling or bottom team in a given league, why not try it? Like, could be the extra thing for you. This is like to give a historical example, you know who would have been great with this meta and setup? Jin Air Green Wings. Jin Air Green Wings would have made playoffs in the LCK if this strategy existed for a split. On the teams where they had Teddy and nothing else, Jin Air makes playoffs if they get to play this strategy for a split. Like, if all you have is a bot laner, do this. Like, what team should do this in EU? Is it Excel? I feel like it's Excel.
Excel,
Yes.
basically.
Like, you have a sick bot laner and nothing else. So every bit of your team comp should be focused around them. Okay, let's do it.
Bring OddVN back, have OddVN play top lane, and then have OddVN gank bot, so then Patrick has both OddVN and Mickey in lane.
You know? Like,
I mean,
if you've got the...
Whippo played a long time in this.
Yeah, like TL doing this, either TL or C9 doing that exact thing would be really funny because they both splashed their cash on these great, awesome, internationally renowned top laners. And it's like, well,
You're
okay,
gonna have to
so
play
Janna. Yep.
instead of this, we're going to play our backup supports as our top laners for a couple weeks here, just while this gets sorted out. So C9's going to just play Isles in the top lane and bench Summit. Like,
Oh, this is actually really good for TL though. They could actually play core then, because
they
you
can
wouldn't
play
have
Core and
Whippo
Ayla at the
out
same
there.
time.
Yeah, I'm down.
Yeah.
No, it's the TL swapperoo that you do is you bench Santorin again. You stick Whippo back in the jungle and you play both supports. That's how you do it.
You can't. Santorin's resident. I'm pretty
I don't
sure.
care. Fuck the rules.
Okay.
It's not about whether or not the import rules work. It's about how the team comp would work.
I'm really impressed, like, in general with NA, that, like, 8 of the 10 teams after week 1 had very unique but also clear play styles and game plans that they executed on, like, even if in the losses. Like, Golden Guardians playing with, like, the Assassin jungle picks, FlyQuest being the only team with the Janna top,
Dig just looking good. Just
Dig
straight
just
up good.
looking good, and but like with River specifically on Jarvan, and then there's all these things happening. You know, there's only like 2 teams that so far don't have definitive play styles, and so look kind of in trouble like at this point in the split, which are Immortals and TSM. To be fair to TSM, like they started playing together like 3 days ago and are really green.
So did C9 though.
So did C9, yeah.
But they don't have the book.
It sounds like the language issues in TSM are somehow worse.
Well, and that was like Spica is having to translate
and
for
shot
the
call.
team.
Yeah. So like they're having a really hard time executing a game plan is what it sounds like. And after they figure it out, they could be good, but like they kind of look like a hot mess where like they have hands but nothing else. It'll take them a while.
We've seen teams like this before, and it usually doesn't go well.
Yeah. It'll take a while before they start looking good, probably. But yeah, so like them and then Immortals, who really just look like their identity struggling as far as like what they're actually supposed to do on the Rift with the players on that roster. But like Team Liquid, you know, Whippo show, ganking junglers. So like I mentioned River on Jarvan, and like River to me looks like the best jungler in North America out of the games that have happened so far. Including like maybe you could make a case for Inspired, but like I think it's River right now, which is fascinating because the only other jungler in the West who currently plays like strictly Jarvan when available is Malrong on Rogue, who is currently like 8-0.
9-0, sir.
9-0.
They won the full first round robin.
They did it. They're the third team to do it or something?
Yeah. And it's like, and like they're the only ones though in their league who are prioritizing specifically Jarvan in these compositions, really. Like Santorin's also playing supportive junglers or ganking junglers, but it's like they're the best, and this is all they're doing. And that's really interesting because like the risk with like these ganking supportive junglers is that like you have to get the lane ahead because you are going to be 50 CS down now with the way the jungle is working, and you
That's
can't
funny.
afford to have this fail.
Because I'd like to talk about another game in which Jarvan was played this weekend.
Oh, really?
Eric, please talk shit to Steven. Because
do we have
Santorin played J4 in that game and ended the game 50 CS down on closer.
Oh, that was that game. Oh yeah, they got stomped. And like,
wienered.
and so it's the problem with these ganking junglers is if you don't succeed on snowballing your lanes, it looks really bad. And so the fact that like River and Malrong are making it work might indicate that teams just need to get good, and like start taking risks on this kind of strategy, especially if your jungler isn't closer. Just as a maybe a point of reference.
Too soon.
But yeah.
So how do you feel, Mr. 100 Thieves fan, about your 2-0 weekend?
Much better. Who he played Set in one of the games, which is great. I love when they play not enchanters on Hui because he doesn't have the hands for it, part one. And part two, they have no engage. They need him to be able to engage. It is like the full like way they win is by doing that. So at least it tells me that they were like, oh yeah, that was stupid, and they fixed it like immediately. That's nice. I like it when teams adjust when they make mistakes, unlike TSM. It's like fix your problem.
I like that in the second game in which they stomped the bejesus out of CLG. CLG picks this massive wombo combo composition: Kennen, Diana, Yasuo, Lulu, and then a Jinx for the cleanup. And then just gets stomped.
Oh man, CLG looks so discombobulated. I've never seen people just like absolutely scatter with the.
No, we talk about the best performances of the weekend. Contracts had the worst. Contracts went like 1-17 on the weekend or something like that. It was really bad.
He played Diana and was it Diana and Zen?
Yeah.
Well, the Xin game, wasn't that another one of the nonsense games? Was that the FlyQuest game?
Oh, no, he didn't play Zen, he played Trundle.
Yeah.
He played Trundle and just kind of ran it down against FlyQuest. He kept dying.
Yeah, really because who is he going to ult?
He had no, like, he's talked with people. He talked with people after that game. He had no clue what to do. Like, absolutely no clue. And that, to me, like, I give them a pass on this week. Like, I give them a pass.
It feels bad. Like, he went 1-16 on the week. I just looked up the stats. It feels
oh, God. But the Diana game looked awful, though, too. So,
So, Steven, are you worried as a TL fan? You got the win over Immortals, who might be the worst team in the league, and got pushed in a little bit by 100 Thieves, who might be better than you.
I think that's debatable. I think we were ill prepared for Hui to actually function, which I think is fair. I think we should get that.
Interesting that the defending champions might not have cared about the preseason tournament.
Yeah. Interesting. Yes, that is a way to look at it.
Because lest we forget, 100 Thieves won the last split.
Something. Well, yeah, I mean, they were forcing Hui to not play to his style, as Eric said, and he started to do that again suddenly, and that's not fair. That's cheating. Go back to Enchanter so we can win, please. But also, again, we're not full roster, so I will hold any kind of fear until actual roster shows up. Now, if we put Core in there, I would still have excuses because they haven't played together. They've been practicing with. Hell yeah, so no problems. Like, we're Gucci. Like, easy worlds.
Hans has been playing too good for just swapping the other bot lane, right? Because they could play Core. They just have to not play Hans.
Yeah, you just gotta leave Hans in. Like, I think it's, like, I would love to know what's going on in the practice, because, like, Hans Core could be, like, an end game, like, Thanos snap the rest of the LCS away, and it wouldn't matter. But we're not going to see it for a while. I don't. If we don't see it this whole split, that might be really upsetting. But I really don't trust the United States government to issue any paperwork properly. So. Then I'll get scared. Is that valid?
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, and like with EG, like I don't think they similarly were prepared well for how C9 was going to play. I will be very interested to see how the second round of that matchup goes, because I think that they will be fine, but they didn't figure it out, and that's fine.
I feel like we have a lot of like the Huni era Echo Fox compositions going on where people come out really hard in the first few weeks of LCS and they're pulling out some wild stuff and they look really good, but then the teams start to shake out into more of like who's the consistent teams. Like,
Well, but okay, so that can be where we end. Is Dignitas real?
Yes.
Because like weird compositions, whatever. Is Dignitas real?
I think they're regular season real. I'm nervous about like the long-term ability of this team to hold up. Mainly, like people will talk about Fake God like looking weak and other things, but mainly to me, it's just like it goes back to the whole like your jungler is playing 4 lanes. Your like superstar jungler is playing 4 lanes because he has identified that the way you win is by carrying them in your backpack across the finish line. And all it will take is eventually for teams to like understand that that is what you are doing and to then punish your weak lane, and then this will go down in flames. So that's the concern, is that like will River continue to be able to carry? I would love for River to get to play his like long-term power picks like Echo, but I don't see that coming with the fact that he needs to babysit, especially for bot, as hard as he does. So we'll have to see how it shakes out.
So this is a weird comparison, and I don't necessarily think the skill levels are comparable. It's like watching Damwon before they won Worlds a little bit. Now, Blue is not Showmaker, so that's where this falls apart a little bit. But Canyon at his best is that jungle. And he hasn't always had superstars in the bot lane and the top lane to play around. He's had a superstar mid laner to work. But Canyon at his best is the model for this in recent times. And there are reasons that Canyon has been said on and off as the best player in the world as a part of this span of time. So, like, the model can work. You have to be really, really good to make it work. And you still have to rely a bit on your team. Because, like, Damwon wouldn't have won Worlds without both he and Showmaker being 2 of the better players in the world. So, I'm very interested to see how the rest of the team can step up around, because that's going to set them apart. It's been good to see Neo looking good. I remember 2 years ago when Neo was the hottest new shit in bot lane in NA. Let's find out.
I think this is the opportunity. This is where we see it for real. I think they can hold up. I think River is like the linchpin for sure, but if you never pull it, if it's never pulled out,
man. And Blue,
he looks better.
Blue has so many haters to shout out if he pulls any kind of real split off.
I mean, I think he's already like quelled some of the noise.
I don't want to hear about anything until the end of the split, but I hope he has a list.
It's you know, and people have talked for a while about the tragedy that was his time on SK, both with like life stuff as well as the tragedy that is that organization. So you know, like it's just another big shout out to, you know, like fan impressions of a 5v5 game sometimes can be misleading.
And Bio too, because Bio's reputation has been in the dumpster for a hot minute now. Yes. So like there's some revenge to be taken in this team.
And if you look at the orgs that Bio has come from, one of them was completely restructured from ownership down this past off season because they were trash, and is now like all rookies. and the other one is currently under an active investigation by Riot Games for alleged player abuse, as well as other factors. Huh. I wonder what could have happened here.
Yikers.
But kudos to those people for sticking through and like coming out here. Like, I think that chip is in the shoulder, and let's see.
Yep, absolutely. So there's your NA go through. Games this weekend. I closed my schedule tab too early. I think the highlight is EG Dig, which is like right off the bat. I think that might be game 1 on Saturday, which that's a banger. I'm looking forward to that.
That's the test.
Like let's see. Let's find out. So that's the first game of the weekend is Dig EG.
Yeah.
And then EG has a tough week because then they play 100 Thieves on Sunday.
Yep. And then TLC9.
That's gonna be
Let's
fun.
find out.
I hope we just like rip the notes off the door and just throw them into the streets. Get that scripture out of here.
TL
very
TL
standard play style.
TL has the big brain week. TL has to do C9 FlyQuest.
Yeah, like this, because my prediction is TL will just say so committed to standard play style, and I hope that it's just like a way to weather it and then still pull out just like being so super standard that you don't falter. But I've seen it not work in the past, so.
Like that's the thing. It's in the hard test case of top lane Smite Janna. Is Whippo good enough to 1v5 into that comp comparatively to FlyQuest's team?
If they're ready for it, I think so. But if they get like baboozled into some weird picks, like not expecting it, like then I'm going to be upsetty spaghetti.
I am 100% confident that Whippo has some other secret sauce answer into top lane Janna, which is not just playing like a split push threat. I'm 100% confident he's going to do something else that's utterly absurd to
Suicide Scion.
To like tilt that game. Like Suicide Scion, like Shen Top, like Karthus, I don't know, but he's
Proxy
got some
Singe.
nonsense that's going to just like destroy what they're trying to do in that game.
I hope so. At least we at least have to pick up the FlyQuest game. I would love to see us clap Cloud9 and just like snuff that little embers of a start. That'd be great.
Last thought, because I've thought of it because we were talking FlyQuest again. I thought Takoya looked really good. I was impressed by him in both the FlyQuest games.
He got to play Zoe. He's really good at Zoe.
I think the mid pack of NA is very, very uplifting. Coming out of the last few years, where there was a clear like bottom half and upper half.
Boy, there's a joke here about as soon as you get rid of Pobelter and Jensen, what happens?
Yikers.
I don't want to go there yet, but like
Jojo looks great. Keto is struggling because his team is struggling, but he got like way ahead in their first game on Victor. Like PoE now is like looking like he's pretty weak, but that's honestly because his team has no other lanes.
his
really?
team's kind of bad.
So it's problematic there. But yeah, it's definitely elevated.
All right, let's talk a little bit about EU. We've talked a long time about NA, so let's jump around a little bit. Who do you want to talk about that's not Rogue, Eric?
Who would I want to talk about that's not Rogue?
How's G2 doing?
G2? Oh,
Yeah.
G2 Rogue was fun.
G2 Rogue was fun. G2 looks pretty good, actually. Like, Caps isn't in full carry form, but it's mainly just Yankos popping off. They removed all the toxic elements, so Yankos can return to his true troll First Blood King roots. And Targamas and X-Matty haven't been trash, but like Targamas has died a lot. Is like the the big critique of what's happening for them on the Rift. Broken Blade's been good. Their top side is incredibly solid.
Yeah, and Flackett has looked decent.
Oh, it's Flackett, not Xmatty. Who's Xmatty on?
Xmat is BDS.
Okay, there we
Yeah,
go.
Flackett has looked decent.
Yeah.
And like as Eric mentioned, Jisoo's first game this weekend was boy, who was that? It was G2 against BDS. And Yankos was a monster on my beloved Poppy that game. Eric shouted out that I needed to watch that VOD immediately, and I did, and it was beautiful.
He interrupted a Bard tunnel with the Poppy AoE stun W. So like he just pops out of the wall like in the middle of the enemy team and just like it's popped. It was incredible. Like clinic. Like that's what the jungle Poppy is supposed to do in a game of League of Legends.
So
It's a good pick.
what are the chances Astralis sells their slot here soon?
0.
Ah,
They're doing too good from a marketing perspective, not paying players to sell their spot.
And like, if I would feel better about where they're at if they were just really only playing youth players. But like, there's a joke here about how many teams in EU regional leagues would beat Astralis? Because there's a lot.
Most of the LFL, but like, and then I think there's a couple good Polish teams that might. It's complicated, but like most of the LFL, and yeah, it's pretty brutal. Like I've talked about them before. It's just so tragic that it's like White Knight can look good, Zanzara can look good. They do not have carries on this team. They got like some new young mid laner, which is a decent decision. However, that new young mid laner is not one of the highlight new young mid laners. And then they have an AD carry, Kabi, who doesn't win lane. So like I don't know what you do here. Like they just don't have a carry threat. So it's like really what they need to do is they just need to go all in on the White Knight basket. It feels like at this point, and just like have Zanzara get White Knight ahead.
Well, and Zanzara is
that.
good. He's good. He's marketable. He's a fun player. Like
yeah, like, and so and Promiscu has stepped up in some of these games to not look as terrible as he did last year. But man, they just have no working pieces, and the fact that this is the roster they assembled is like highly indicative of them not acknowledging a desire. Like they felt no desire to change. They opted into 10th place again. Like this was and that to me is pretty egregious. Like even in the height of like the old CLG org, like misconstrued conceptions of how to build a roster, they at least tried stuff. They tried nothing.
So yeah, they're well on. Astralis is well on track for 0-18. I'm interested to see what it's going to take for them to choose something different. But
I mean, they can beat BDS in a game. BDS is also pretty bad, but
well, yeah, like BDS and SK are not good either, but like they've had their first shots at both of them.
This is like it's really weird for like NA to actually feel, because of the variety of playstyles in the teams, as well as like as well as the different identities, as well as like how much effort was put in this offseason. It does feel like it's NA. We'll see some stratification as the season goes on, but right now they all feel like pretty competitive except for Immortals. Like all these teams stand a chance of doing something except for Immortals. Whereas with like EU, it's like, all right, there's like a top 1, and then there's like a top 2 through 4, and then there's like they're gonna make playoffs couple of teams, and then there's the trash, and it's like incredibly stratified of like, you know exactly who the good teams are and who the dumpster fire teams are, and that's like really baffling because normally EU is like everyone's tied going into playoffs, and you have to have like 5 tiebreaker games to figure out who actually makes it in.
Across the world, the LCK had their Lunar New Year break, but started yesterday back up. The LPL, as we said earlier, starts tonight. Well, we're recording this about 11 o'clock. Central Time tonight. So in like 3 hours, 4 hours, there are LPL games to watch. So go get in there. Neither of them are very good, but you know, watch the games. The matchups tonight are it's several teams that aren't very good in the LPL right now, and it should be two absolute destructions in the LCK. The LCK games tonight are Damwon Kwangdong Freaks, which should be lopsided and ugly, and Genji against Live Sandbox, which should be lopsided and ugly. So the highlight for the LCK this week is Saturday early in the morning or Friday night, depending on your perspective, is T1 Genji, both of whom I think are still undefeated on the season. Which is, oh no, that's right. Genji randomly lost to KT, so they're not undefeated anymore, but they're still second in the league. T1 has not actually lost yet, but they've only won 2-1 in each of their last 3 series and have looked a little bit beatable, but they're really good. They had some really clutch plays in their game. Carrier looked awesome in their game against Hanwha Life last night. So it's a lot to watch, and it's like this week I think is going to be really interesting because of all the strategic elements we've talked about. The Korea and China are back from the break. They've seen all of the same developments and strategy that we have. So is the weird stuff going to come out? Doubt it, but possibilities are there. Speaking of weird stuff, I gave the plug earlier. I love watching the LCO. It's long been one of my fond pastimes. I've always pulled for the Oceanic teams at Worlds. And particularly now that it's essentially NA's farm division, it's good to keep an eye on. It was good to see Raze is back in the LCO and looked really good because he's better than everybody else there after his sojourn to the LCS and brief time there. But the interesting thing, it was the Kog'Maw caught my eye because I watched two series in the LCO, and it was, where's my LCO? It was let's see, would have been Peace against Gravitas and Kanga against Mammoth, and Peace Gravitas was not close. Peace is the best team in the league again. They went to Worlds last year. Have changed the roster. They're still the best team in the league. Gravitas picks botlane Kog'Maw, and the mythic item on the Kog'Maw was Frostfire Gauntlet. And then he built like his typical ADC items, but like I don't know the dank tech here. It didn't appear to do anything, and he still died really fast, and they lost badly.
Ooh, okay.
But like, there's a skill difference involved between the teams, but like, I'm like, what is the theory here? I don't understand the tech.
I think
you shoot them while they're slow.
Yeah, is you slow them down. So like, do they have no engage? Because like that to me sounds like a thing you would do if your team lacks engage, or like the enemy team just like runs straight at you, but doesn't have like like force engage abilities. Like if they have like Udyr jungle or something. Like the Frostfire Gauntlet on Kog'Maw seems hilarious to me then, because it's like you auto him from like half the screen away, and then he's like slowed, and then he has to keep running at you as you're like shredding his health.
The Gravitas team comp is Ornn, Xin Zhao, Zoe, Kog, Lulu.
Yeah, you're just getting clapped.
Wait,
no, on the other side. What's on the other side?
The other side is Gwen, Trundle, Orianna, Aphelios, and Nautilus.
Yeah, see, so the point is you auto the Gwen hopefully before the AoE bubble comes up, and the Trundle, so they can't run quickly at you because you have the AoE slow field. Did he also get Hurricane? Because
he didn't have time.
Well, that's really tragic.
The game finished in 24 minutes. He second item Phantom Dancer.
I see and respect this dank tech, but maybe that's not a good point.
And the point about the Gwen, it didn't work. The Gwen finished the game 7-0-6. The Trundle finished the game 5-0-10.
You know, dank build path can only accomplish so much as far as gold value.
So then we have this game, and I'm like, okay, is it well, like, where's the tech here? So then the next game, Kanga Esports picks Kog'Maw mid lane,
And does
on blue side, and it's like that. So this team comp then is Gwen, Hecarim, Kog'Maw, Aphelios, Lulu, and it's like it's AP Cog. It's clearly like he went Leandry's traditional normal AP Cog. Mammoth just went right ahead and picked Zed into it and murdered it a bunch.
Yeah, that worm died.
And it just kind of didn't work. So I don't know why the LCO is playing Kog'Maw in the Kog'Maw flex.
So mid lane Cog, I actually like in these like weird poke metas because like it's an alternative to the the Corki like rockets as far as what you're doing with your R button. Only it's more pure AP. The issue is that like, man, so like picking Zed into it is kind of disrespectful. That wouldn't fly in these other leagues because like the way you get away with that is knowing your jungler is busy bodying their jungler. So like you're not going to get impacted because like in EU for example, if you lock Zed into a Kog'Maw mid laner, Targamas, Mickey, or oh gosh, Brain Hillsong is going to be sitting in that river bush while you all in, and then just Hex Flash stun you, lock you down, and then you're dead. And you've just fed like 300 free gold to that Kog'Maw, and who's then going to take like 3 plates, and then it. There are reasons why Zed is not picked professionally out of like after season 4, and it really boils down to the fact that like kill threat in lane means a different thing at pro play, and so that seems very disrespectful. Is what I would say. And if they can get away with it, great, but like that I don't see coming out.
I'm trying to remember. I thought I had seen a Zed jungle get floated around somewhere, but I didn't. I haven't seen.
Yeah, Golden Guardians.
That's right.
Yeah, jungle is a different story. Assassins in jungle, it's like all about gold efficiency. It's like that weird like floating numbers math games nonsense.
Well, yeah, because it'll be Pride who plays it, because Pride only plays Assassins. I forgot about that.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and it's like you rush the Ghostblade because it's so gold efficient.
I'd also like to read you a different team comp. I found the team in the LCO who's worshiping at the church. This team comp from Dire Wolves in their loss to Order is Vayne top, Gwen jungle, Soraka mid, and then Jinx for Khan in the bot lane.
They lost with this?
They got shit on.
They should be ashamed. They should be ashamed. LS
they
would have
appear to have messed up their early game at about minute 12, and then we're down 4,000 gold.
Yeah, like
yikes.
Being down 4K at that point in the game isn't game over. Cloud9 was down like 4K in one of their games and still won.
they appear to have done nothing and died a little bit here.
Yeah.
And like the Vayne was into Scion, which in theory should do something effective.
Oh, that's terrible actually. Oh, that's actually secret tragic. Because yeah, you can kill the Scion, but then dead Scion kills you, and then your turret. Like that's secret tragic. Like that's a bait. That's a bait pick. Oh boy.
Man, and it was Ghost Vayne top. What? I need to watch this game. I did not watch this game. I need to watch this game.
Yeah.
To see what broke here. Anyway, so yeah, that's your LCO spotlight. Maybe next time Eric can watch some games in the where's my LCL?
There's now an English
LCL happening.
There's English language coverage now of LCL.
Oh, the LCL starts this weekend too.
Yeah, it starts this weekend, and then the team who covers the English league or the league in Great Britain, they're going to be covering LCL in English now. So I can.
Yeah.
I might still watch it in Russian because like the coverage voices in Russian, it's like it's entertaining. But like we'll see. I really
LCL and
like the
LJL
team.
both start this weekend, so there's some stuff out there.
Yeah.
I assume DFM's going to win all their games again, but details.
Well, they lost Arya, so it's
They did. And he has looked okay in the in.
better than Maple.
Yep. That's about all I got. What have you been playing this week? Anything other than Pokemon?
Pokemon.
I've mainly just been playing RF at the moment. With friends. I haven't been getting as much Pokemon in this week. Been busy.
I played a little bit of RF. Not very much. It comes and goes, and my fingers aren't fast enough to be good at it.
I'm not a huge fan of it, honestly. I completely smelled the sauce that Riot was cooking as far as like, yeah, we can't leave Earth in the game very long. People get turned off. I'm like, yeah, it's true. Yikes. Don't look at me. Sorry.
Anyway, yeah, that's all I got, and we're not going to talk about Pokemon for another 20 minutes, even though we could.
We could.
We've got another video that you should watch if you want to hear more about Pokemon Legends Arceus, though, don't we, Steve?
Yeah, you should watch my whole playthrough because I talk a lot about it in that.
Watch Steven figure out how a mini-map works.
I am learning how the mini-map works and like how to turn on like the amount of turns that it takes, and like that you can't just yeet yourself off cliff sides. Like this is all new things, and you can jump on the Windeer. That's fun. I learn a lot of things as I'm playing through this game.
Yep. That's fine. I had a dumb thing I figured out at some point about it. I don't remember what it was.
Was it the rocks?
It was the rocks was the dumb thing. Yeah. If you're playing Pokemon Legends Arceus and get to a tunnel that looks blocked to you, it's not a secret ability. Just throw one of your Pokemon at it. Preferably something tiny so it looks hilarious.
Just break it.
I definitely just threw my Rhydon at it just in case, and it did the thing. I'm like, oh shit.
Oh no.
So, and you could do all this. You could play your Pokemon and feel smart about yourself while looking good too, can't you, Steven?
Yes, you should buy merch at the Funky Store. Double plug, Funky
because
Store.
after all, we're playing a Pokemon game in 2022. So, are we feeling nostalgia? Or are we feeling nostalgia?
I think so. I think you should go back to a better time, and like it's 1999. We're playing Pokemon, and you got your gold and silver and your crystals. I don't think crystal is out yet. Anyway, red and blue and the gold and silver. It's the turn of the century, and you got some nice comfy T-shirt on that you got, and it's great, and you're having a good time. You should do that at the Funky Store, funky.store.
My 1999 story of the week is I was out for lunch on Sunday at a restaurant in the Des Moines area where I live, and I heard for I think probably the first time in about 20 years, "The Real Slim Shady" by Eminem, which was on the radio at this restaurant in 2022, which bless whoever set up your radio to just be somewhere in about 2002, just right about.
Yeah,
there were also two songs off of Maroon 5's first CD, which came out in 2001.
Yeah, the younger middle Zoomer era people are really into Y2K, which is apparently our generation, which is not great.
Look, my Spotify is just basically set in 2006, so like I can't be that mad about it.
Go back to 2006 at the Funky Store, funky.store.
Yeah, exactly. I still just listen to Panic at the Disco. It's a character flaw.
Sometimes you just got to do it.
Yep. That's all we got. We'll probably be back next week. There are a gazillion games getting played. We'll talk more.
League of Legends.
League of Legends. Anyway, that's Steven. That's Eric. I'm David. It's been Reaction Time. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.